so I am trying a new camera here, my GoPro. I wanted to see how this actually works as far as filming and all that stuff, voice, etc., right? So I'm gonna go over real quick how I got to this point. I think, and so I'm recording this now, but I think I took a picture of, okay, yes, so you've seen the previous photo of me, excuse me, sketching the actual graffiti on the car. So after I done that, I used a micron to go over the graffiti again, and it wasn't as thick as it is now, but I just wanted a really darker outline so I can see what I was doing. Then I used a paint marker, and then I also used an actual paintbrush to get some of the lines a little thicker. Some of the stuff here is not real crispy, and it's because of the panels on this auto rack. It's very rigidy, bumpy. There's actual little holes in there that need to be filled, and when you try and draw over that stuff, your pen or marker, whatever, tends to go its own way. It has its own mind. So with that said, this is taking me a lot longer, first of all, than what I anticipated, because I first hit it with a clear coat just to give it some tooth so all the paint and the weathering and stuff will be able to stick to it. But just this part is the graffiti is a lot more time consuming than I wanted it to be. But then I filled it in with another color Sharpie marker, paint marker. And so now what I think I'm going to do is do a technique with this color paint. And you can do it with any kind of acrylic paint or whatever, but it's a wet technique. And so what I'm gonna do is take that paint and put it on what's called a wet palette, and you just thin that paint out really thin, and you just have to layer after layer, because I want to get a fade in here. I want to see how that's going to work with this. I do it a lot when I do 40K figures, so I want to see what it's going to look like on this, if I can pull it off. If not, I'll probably just go over it with another color and just make it a flat color. So I'll try and get some video of that, but like I said, this is just a test to see how and what this actually looks like with this camera that I'm using now. So hang tight. Alright, so I am using this, it's called a glazing technique. And just in the previous little section of video, you've seen that it was just all orange, and now you can see there's a fade happening here with that red paint. And so what's happening is this is the wet palette, and so there is a piece of paper towel under here with a piece of wax paper on top, and this keeps the paint from not drying out as quick. And so I just get a little water, thin that paint out some, And then I use my thumb to see how thin that paint really is. And that's, you want it to be transparent. So I've probably built up, I've passed over this bottom maybe 10 times already to build up that, and you can see the fade happening. And so what you do is, wherever you want the darker pigment to start building up, you pull the paint brush towards where you want the darker part to be. Because what happens is when you brush with the paint on there, whatever way you brush, where the brush ends that stroke, that's where the most of the deposit of the paint is going to happen. So you kind of just want to start. Now I'm kind of starting in the midway. So I started kind of up here a little bit, but now since I've built up some, I want to start bringing that the start of the stroke midway into that fade. So instead of, because I started up here at first, now I'm starting kind of in around this area, because now I guess the red will be more darker in that area. And I always do just a little quick check. So that might be a little too much paint on my brush. So I'll just go in and wet and water down that paint some more. Because what you don't want to do is build up the paint too fast, because then you lose the actual gradient that's supposed to take place. And yes, I know there's other people that do it differently. I've done it differently. You can actually dry brush a fade on this type of work. But I feel like this technique, and it's been used forever, you just get a smoother blend of a fade when you do the glazing technique. It takes a lot longer, but the results are just really nice and smooth. And this is kind of where I just honestly spend hours doing this type of stuff, whether it's weathering or painting. This is where I get lost in doing this type of stuff. So me personally, I don't mind if it takes me all night to do something like this. It's just enjoyment, kind of in my thoughts, thinking of just different things. See, that might be a little too dark, so I'll just I'll add some more water. Hopefully y'all seen that. Yeah, that's a good one. So again, I'll just start a little further down. That might be a little dark. And if it's too dark like that when you put it on there, just dip your paintbrush in some water. Take some of it off of there. And then take that off of there. Just, and then you could blend it again, because it's still kind of wet, right? So you have just a little leeway to make some mistakes, and then you can tighten it up a little bit. But for the most part, when you weather the car, a lot of this stuff will go away anyway. For me anyway, when I weather, I do all the graffiti and stuff first, or whatever I'm tagging, and then I'll get my airbrush and hit it with like a dust color or like a dirt grime color, and a lot of this will get covered anyway, so I'm not too concerned. unless I wanted it to be like the graffiti artist just tagged it, and so it's a fresh piece. But um, I'm okay if it's not fresh. And there's some road grime on there. Okay, and here's a good part, right? I hadn't done this part of the A. And you can see there's some going on there. I don't know if you can on the camera, but there's a little bit of red going on there. And so as I go through each letter, this is drying, and then that allows me to put the next layer of paint on there. Wet that up a little bit, thin it out. And so here I'll start kind of down a little further. And again, it's just all about taking your time and building up layers, layer after layer. It's the same with weathering too, it's all layers. And because the paint is so watered down and transparent, that's what helps with the fade. Get a little more water. Check my finger again. That might be a little dark. Add just a little bit more water. And just fade it out. Just keep fading and fading and fading and fading. And again, this is called a glazing technique. And then remember this little part of the A, I'll come back because it should be dry by now. And because I started up here, I'll start just maybe 1/16 of an inch down from where I started. And you can already see the buildup happening. So I let that dry, come back over here. Add a little more onto that one. And now I'm kind of almost at the bottom here. And by the time, what should happen is by the time you hit the bottom, the very bottom, you should have this color pure at the bottom, if that's what you're going for. And I'll start here. And then I'll start here. Because now at these points I'm almost at the bottom, and I'm pretty happy with the fade, how it's turning out. So because most of this is the solid red now. I'll come over here. Add just a little more water. And then pull some down. And then you'll see how it's starting to fade right here. And you can see the red here. That's it. I think my girlfriend was knocking, so let me see what's going on. But I'll be back with a little more when I get some more done. Stay tuned. All right, so here is the finished product. I believe I'm done. And I didn't want to bore you all with watching me just regular paint, but as you can see, I painted the 3D part gray, and then I just used just standard acrylic paint. For the blue, what I did was, so I got these two different blue colors. I don't know, where's the color at? Shock blue and true blue. And what I did is I just took the light one and went around wherever I needed to clean it up at. I just took my brush and cleaned it up like that. And next I took the true blue and just did like a kind of a outline, I guess, of the bottom. And while the paint was still wet, I just lightly pulled down some strokes. Like either it was, I didn't want to make it look like it was dripping per se, like this was purposely done as a pull down. And then I took some white paint marker and just added some highlights and stuff. So that's it for the graffiti and how I done the glaze effect. I may tag on each side, just like we called it electro rock back in the day. But yeah, that's about it. And then I'll, like I said, take my airbrush. I'll probably just light weather this. I don't think I'm gonna go heavy in with the rust and all that stuff. It'll just be a light weathering. So that's it. I appreciate y'all for taking a look, and I will post some more stuff whenever I get a chance. I want to try and start doing it a little more often and start giving some good attention to my YouTube channel as well. So you guys hang with me, and let's just enjoy the ride.